Hello, hello, and welcome to the Color Whisperer Show. Today we have an amazing guest. There's so much to say about this man, I don't even know where to begin. But he is a jack of many trades, and his knowledge and his experience and what he teaches so incredible. I had the pleasure of taking some of his courses and life changing, truly life changing. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce Nino Mayani, and we'll learn what he does and how he helps people. Hey, Nino.
Good morning, Jeanette.
Good morning. So you are a shaman extraordinaire. Let's start talking about like how you got started in shamanism and a little bit about that journey.
Well, it goes back to time when I was 5 years old. It's a really interesting story. I was living back east in Massachusetts, and I loved Indians. I loved the woods. I loved the forest. I was about 5 years old. And my mother took me to an Indian village that's in Massachusetts. I don't remember the tribe at this moment, but I met this little girl there. She was about my age, and she said, "You got to meet my grandfather." And so she went and found her grandfather and brought him to me. And he looked at me and he said, "Grandson, I need to dance your spirit." I thought that was pretty cool. I was 5 years old. And so he went and put on his regalia, got a medicine blanket, and sat me on a blanket and began to sing a number of different sacred songs. I don't remember them, but I do remember the chants and how I felt. I felt, really amazing. And my mother gave him some money when after we finished, and when I went home, didn't think much of it. But what happened within about a week, I had a apparition show up in my room. It scared the living crap out of me. I'm 5 years old. I'm seeing this thing. It's about 6 feet tall, 7 feet tall, sitting on my bed, a dark figure, and it's motioning me to follow it. And I woke up screaming that something was in my room. And my mother came in, turned the lights on. There was nothing there. This went on for about a year. Uh, when I was being woken up by this being, I had no idea what it was. But to make a long story short, after going through a number of different clinicians, like neurologists, to find out if I had any brain issue, I remember having them sticking the electrodes on my brain, and I'm thinking they're no one that can know that I stole the cookies. They're reading my mind. I was I was totally distraught at that whole ordeal. However, about a year, it disappeared, it stopped. But interesting thing though is when I was 22, I was going to UCSB in Santa Barbara, and it was Dead Week, and I had this strange
Dead
pull.
week.
It's called Dead Week. Yeah, it's where there's no classes. It's the week before finals.
Okay.
It's called Dead Week. So I had this strange feeling I needed to go to Northern California. I ended up finding myself in a little town called Ben Lomond, which I actually lived there for a little while. And there was this being sitting in the restaurant. It this went like this, come to me, and it pointed to I followed it. A hole was in the ground, and he asked me to jump in. I did. And then I woke up, and he said, when it's time, he'll give me this feather. And then he disappeared again. However, the very interesting is that particular week, the mileage of my car didn't change. I was gone a whole week. I don't know where I was. All I know is that I saw that being, and then all of a sudden I'm standing in front of my car a week later after I'd went through this experience. I later shared this experience with a medicine man who became one of my teachers, Phil Crazybull. He was a a Hioka Sakanju Sioux from the Lakota tribe, and he worked with me a lot with this gift that I was given. At the time, I didn't realize exactly what it was. It scared the living crap out of me. I don't wish this on anybody. And that was begin my journey down the rabbit hole. And since then, it's taken me to many, many indigenous teachers that I walked with for almost 50 years, all of them together. Learning about this and finding out if I'm out of my mind or not, which I found out I'm not. But I was given this gift, and there's an old saying about shamanism: you really don't want to be a shaman. I don't put this on anybody, because what it does, it changes
Oh no, we're frozen.
the way that you in the world of the mundane. It limits you because your has been all built on building this bridge into the world of the places and learning to go forth in that world. And but in doing that, I've had dozens and dozens of people come for me from all over. Basically, told them that there's nothing they can do, and we've had the spirit, not me, but the spirit that works with through me, has healed people of cancer, have healed people of heart disease. Um, there's the list is goes on and on. But it's not something I am healing. I want to make that very clear. I don't do the healing. I am the vessel, the conduit between you and the spiritual world. And so we go on that roller coaster together. And as you know from your experiences, how that has affected you.
Absolutely. And I think that is a misnomer that a lot of people think of us healers is like we have these magical talents, and we're even called witches, and we're not. We're more in tune than other people, but we are the conduit for the energy to come through and for the healing to come through.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what basically what I've been doing is consistently over my lifetime being able to expand the container to hold more of this, so it doesn't blow me up and blow the people up around me. Traditionally, shamans, it takes 20, 30 years to learn to become a shaman. A lot of people think you can go to a weekend, learn a drumming pattern,
Yeah.
and now you're a shaman. I mean, be careful what you ask for. It just might conjure something up you may not like that show up, and you don't know how to get rid of it. Because I have lots of people over the years that have come to me and say, hey, I got some friends that followed me home and they're causing great grief in my house. And so I have got to go and take care of that. So I encourage everybody to be careful.
You had to take care of something in my house. It was really very interesting. I'd take my cat had been going nuts. My cat was normally very quiet, calm, you know, cat, and then all of a sudden she was just yowling all over the place, and I couldn't figure out why. I couldn't figure out why. And she had a moment of peace, and I took a picture of her and I put it on Facebook, and all these people are like, "Is that a dog in the corner?" I'm like, "No dog in the, or is that, what's that in the
I
corner?
think
What's that in the corner?" And
you,
and I looked at the picture,
you
and like
sent
when I
her,
took the
you sent
picture, yeah, I'd sent you the picture. But there was right by the drapes. There was. It could have looked like a dog, but when you really zoomed in, it looked like a little boy. And I sent it to Nito, and I'm like, "Okay, what's going on here?" So he came to my house. He got rid of it, but it was like my poor little cat was being tortured, and this little imp was just like hiding in the corner, and he'd been torturing my cat like a 3-year-old would.
he was a mischievous spirit,
He was.
and was not dangerous to you or anybody. He was a mischievous spirit, and he needed to be sent on his way. And we negotiated a good deal, and he left. And interesting about that is I say that about what's I love Martine Precht. Anybody, very interesting man, and he calls the shamans they're spirit lawyers. You see, you're negotiating with a spirit or energy to leave, to negotiate and make a deal with it.
Yes, I didn't know how to clear houses then. I have learned some about that since, and yeah, I agree with you. We're just like this, dealing with that level of spirits. A lot of people don't want to believe it exists because they've never experienced it. Once you've experienced it, even if you don't believe it, you're like, when I took the picture, I did not see the imp in the corner. It showed up afterwards, and everybody's like, "Oh, Janae, I didn't know you had a dog." I'm like, "I don't have a dog. What the hell are you talking about?" And I looked and I'm like, "Not a dog, it's a little boy. Not even my little boy." I'm like, "Who's this? What is this?" And and once you've experienced something like that you can't explain, then it's like, okay, this is real. I've seen ghosts before, and it doesn't bother me. But in fact, when I was growing up, I never saw him back then, or at least I don't remember if I did. But we'd all be sitting at the dinner table, and we'd hear somebody, the hallway creaked, and we'd hear somebody walking up or down the hallway. And sometimes we'd hear the front door open and close. This is back when you didn't have to, my dad didn't lock the door all the time. At night he would lock it, but during the day, but somebody would just, we'd hear the front door open, and we'd be looking towards, they had to come around another wall and into the dining room, and we'd be looking, and nobody showed up. And so we called him Luke the Spook.
Luke the Spook.
And apparently he didn't like children, because when I was 11, we adopted my youngest sister. And once she came into the house, he was gone. There was no sign of him. So I kind of grew up with a ghost. So the whole concept of a ghost doesn't scare me. It is kind of wild when you actually start to see them, but
that's why children see them more than adults, because the children are closer to the veil, just like grandparents are. But after you get a little older, you lose that connectivity, so you can't see it or feel it. There's been so many. I mean, literally, we could take hours here. I'd be going down the list of the experiences that I have had, and the impact that it's had on so many people. And I would say 9 out of 10 of them all telling me this is, if I didn't see it, I wouldn't have believed it. You told me this is going to go down, and this is when it went down. And it was what can I say?
Yeah, it really is, until I got thrown into this world for a lot of reasons, but it was because I saw stuff happening. I mean, I grew up, my mother had visions. I had Luke the Spook in the house. I mean, it wasn't so obscure to me, but at the same time, until weird things started happening to me, I was like, okay, this isn't something a doctor needs to fix. And, I joked, I'm like, Dr. Bombay, come right away. I'm like, I don't need a physical doctor. I don't need a medical doctor. I need Dr. Bombay. What the hell is this? Because it wasn't something, if I'd gone to a medical doctor, they just would have given me a pill. The problem wasn't a pill.
I put you north in a straitjacket.
Yeah, I was scared of that, actually, because when at first I kept seeing these eyes everywhere. It was like Alice in Wonderland, where she finds the Cheshire Cat. And I'm like, I tell a doctor this, I'm going to go in a loony bin. I'm not loony. I know this. But I started asking, like, somebody I know has got to know somebody who's into spiritual stuff. And, I knew enough about it that I knew there was other answers, but I didn't know where to go. And I found somebody who's like, oh yeah, yeah. So I got rid of the eyes, but that was an adventure. And like you tell somebody like, oh, you're seeing all these eyes, like you're crazy, you're dreaming, you're this, you're that. And it's like, no, I'm not. And there was a real reason for it. And once we confronted that, because all these things are messages, all of these things are messages for us. So
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit about one of your signature programs, and it's one that truly changed my life, and that is your Journey to Spirit program, because it's mind, body, and spirit. It's transformational.
Oh, that's one of the most powerful experiences that I've had. Literally hundreds of people go through over the years. I only takes a small group with me every year. Only takes 7 people with me. That's the maximum that I take. And it's done in the High Sierras. It is an actual traditional initiatory experience, and it's based on ancient initiatory ritual process, depth psychology, and mythology. And where that's where what I spent 30 some odd years plus in the shaman world, and then I went to graduate school to give it a bigger language, which it was very interesting doing that. So I ended up getting a master's in depth psychology and mythology, which gave me the ability now to articulate these ideas and more congruently using language that is more common. And being able to explain some of these phenomena that has taken place. I did notice on the chat here, Mark has uh, made a point about the consciousness of the spirit animal. Now, everybody, I believe, has a spirit animal, and I know what mine is. It's really quite clear. Many years ago, one of my teachers, his name was Archie Fire Lame Deer. When I did a vision quest, he told me that I was going to be visited by my relatives, and he started laughing and he walked away. It was very funny. Oh my God. Anyways, make a long story short on that. So I got visited by a pack of coyotes that night. And it was very cold. When Archie put me on the mountain, traditionally you get a blanket and your medicine gear and thing. He took everything away from me, and I'm standing there in my underwear basically, and he handed me this little skinny 5 by loosely woven Indian blanket, and he said, "Pray hard."
Wow.
And I ranted and raved and all. And then about 3 o'clock in the morning, I felt around my prayer circle where I was in, and all around me was a pack of coyotes. And if you want to see something really weird, how about 10 to 20 sets of eyes in the moonlight moving up and down that are about within 2 to 3 feet of you, all around
That
you.
would be
And
scary.
I could feel the heat coming off of these coyotes, and they came the first night and the second night. And then since then, I've had so many different coyote experiences. I could write a book on them, which I'm in the process of doing. So everybody has a spirit animal that you create relationship with it. Now it doesn't mean that you're a coyote, but it means you have the coyote spirit. But if you're just a coyote, then you're an animal. You have the coyote spirit, and you have integrated insight over things. So many people have relationship with many different types of animals and that are very powerful. Even a chipmunk has some qualities. As a matter of fact, one of our journey to spirit experiences that we all encountered when this group that I took up, it happened to be all women. This particular journey to spirit, and as I were crossing the creek going into the world I call the other, a little chipmunk came running down the tree, and he'd start chirping at me, and I'm listening to it,
Aw.
and it said it wanted to give everybody a blessing.
Aw.
So I told everybody, this little chipmunk here wants to give you a blessing. So please just stop. Do not touch it. Don't say anything. Listen to it, and it'll chirp at you. And when it's done, you just move on. So we had six people in that group, and it's everybody stopped. That chipmunk there chattered at it, "Ta, ta, 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 ta," and then it was giving everybody a blessing, telling them what to do and what's going on. And then when we were all over it, it ran back up the tree and disappeared. As a matter of fact, my wife just and she can vouch for that little monk.
That's
But
awesome.
we all have encounters with lots of animals. But the more we're at peace with the animals in the wild are become at peace with you, because I've been every single type of animal in North America in the world, never had an issue with any of them, and they all have honored my presence, and I was able to hear them, and we spoke to one another. And
That's really cool.
having those relationships, it with the what I call the unconscious instinctual, and where it becomes this instinctual becomes conscious within your, it removes fear because you're no longer fearful of the unknown, because you have this relationship with, you can see it now with coyote eyes, you can see it with chipmunk eyes, you can see it, this world that other people just don't see. That's this invisible world, and it helps you see it and creates a bridge for communication. So there's cards you can get that are animal cards. It talks about the different spirits of all these animals. I believe Archie Fire Lame Deer put together a tarot deck that has all the animals, and then there's a book that gives you descriptions, which is quite fascinating. So you're not just animal, you're not just human, but you're animal human, which actually gives you a bigger advantage over the rest of the world, because now you're seeing things that other people can't. It's not uncommon for me to walk down the street and I will see things in the corner of my eye, dark apparitions. And there's a lot of them now that are flying around this world. And they're having a indirect subconscious influence on everybody. But most people don't know that. They're being
Yeah.
silently, quietly manipulated. They don't know it.
Yeah, and you said the dark spirits are more prevalent now. I mean, there's in the spiritual world, they're talking about new earth, they're talking about, they're all the dark spirits are leaving the planet. But they're creating a lot of havoc before they do that. So is that what you're talking about?
What I'm talking about. Yeah. So, it's they rely on your subconscious thoughts
Yes.
that usually runs most people's lives. So you have a tape
And
that's,
fear.
yeah, and then being able to keep you in fear. You can work yourself out of fear, and then you have the ability to give these things its name. Like I remember in the Bible when Jesus confronted the demon and asked its name, it said its name was Legion, which meant that it's known by many, many names.
Mm.
So it's not just one name, Beelzebub. It isn't just one demon. There are thousands of them. And the darkness. But if we can empower ourselves with the prayer and create a relationship with the instinctual nature of ourselves, we empower our being and we go through life fearless. That's a great place to be. Your picture has frozen there, Jeanette. Can you hear me at all? You're stuck in catatonic
Yeah, that might have frozen. So I'll just pick up when hopefully she'll come back and everything. What I was asking, and that's where I was going, and you kind of alluded to it and everything. But what does it mean when the spirit animal leave and all along those lines? Because one of the things that we know, because I work at a cultural arts center, and one of the things was there was a cat, and many people feel that it was a cat tied to one of the because there's a voodoo symbol that's up on the building because it is a building tied to Haiti and everything along those lines and everything. And there were some folks that felt that the cat was tied to that culture and all along those lines. But then the spirit cat would look around the building. I think it looked around the building for a number of years, and then all of a sudden it disappeared. And some that followed just natural life would say that it was just a regular feral cat that had run its course of life. But I know a lot of people that are more into the spiritual world think that maybe the cat had other things to do spiritually and was going on to another mission and all along those lines. But I just wanted your take on that because, like I said, I know a number of my coworkers talked about the cat when it was there and its spiritual connection to the building. But then, like I said, after a while and some development in that area, the cat disappeared.
That's a good question, and it reminds me of a very interesting story that I read many years ago. Actually, it was told to me by a Zen monk, and we were having a conversation. And he told us a story about in this particular monastery. They every morning when they go to do their prayers, one morning this cat would show up, and the cat would make a lot of noise, and they were concerned about the cat and all what it was making, and so what they did is that during the morning prayers, so the cat wouldn't wander around and disrupt them in their prayers. They tied the cat up
Mm,
during the morning prayers, and then they would go in and untie him, and the cat would go about his business.
right.
And this went on for many years. And that cat eventually died, but they got another cat,
Mm-hmm.
and they proceeded to tie up the cat during morning prayers. And this went on for a long time, maybe dozens and dozens of years. And finally, some of them asked, like, why do we tie up the cat?
Mm-hmm.
And the monk said, it's because we always have.
Wow. Good point and everything. So they always had, so they just kept doing it. You had also mentioned the number seven, and there's another show that we have here on the network that talks about Misfits Managed, and I know that on their show on this past Tuesday they brought up the number seven and its spiritual nature because apparently the number seven has a lot of spiritual ties. So I was wondering, is that the reason that you only take seven people? Because I know that there are certain numbers that have spiritual significance, and I know seven is one of those numbers, and I was wondering if that was the reason that you chose the number seven to be the amount of people that you took.
Actually, it was what Spirit told me that the number of people that I take was seven. The
Wow.
maximum I can take is seven. And
Right.
so for years, I just listened to that. And then from there, we have the seven sacred ceremonies of Lakota people. We have the seven chakras in our being year, and looking at all of our uh, sacred geometry.
Mm-hmm.
Number seven is very prevalent there as well. It's in between the two houses and feng shui. But there's you have what's called the low shu. There's nine houses. So in feng shui, there's 3, 6, and 9. Number that goes across the three numbers all add up to 9. That's also a number, but it's also when you get to 7, it's taking you to opening the door actually to the ninth
Mm-hmm.
chakra because there's other ones there that we don't know of. But the fundamental ones are basically all 7. So it just seemed to work out well. 7 people, lucky 7. Come on, 7.
Yeah. Lucky seven is always a good number and everything. You mentioned that part of your own upbringing was native culture, and I know that Jeanette's into that as well. And I actually have some Native American family members, because my family is split. Some that claim more of the African American side of the family lineage, but I do have some cousins that are very much involved in Native culture, even involved in the powwows. And I know during the pandemic, we saw a lot of people getting involved in metaphysics and a lot of study of the Native culture. So I just wondering your take on the significance of Native culture just in general, like those of the First Nations.
Well, without them, they've been the stewards of this Turtle Island that we've lived on here for many years, and a lot of these cultures they have these elders that are keepers that basically they don't go anywhere except they hold the medicine for the village and also for Turtle Island.
Yeah.
So we've always been drawn to them, as I was, and then I found my teachers, and through very interesting ways. I didn't find them in the phone book. I didn't go on Facebook and, well, I got to go find this dude. No, they showed up in ways that was very spiritually relevant to myself at that time, and gave me the teachings and the knowledge that I was looking for, and what I was not looking for at the time. That some of them had just literally rent my whole spirit and tore it to pieces. But in order to be able to put back together. I mean, when I was many years ago, my teacher was on Phil Crazybull, Tatan Kawiko. He was a full-blood Kanjisu Heoka medicine man from Rosebud, South Dakota. And he was the Heoko at the very famous Crow Dog ceremony there. It's the Sundance, which I participated there for 16 years.
Wow, and that's fascinating and everything. I was actually trying to see if Jeanette can get back in.
Yeah,
I'll continue and everything. You said earlier that it can be difficult to be a shaman and everything. I know a lot of people have this notion of being a shaman and think that that's something that they want in their life and everything, but maybe it can be more than some people want to bite off and all along those lines. So if somebody is out there and thinking they want to get interested in being a shaman, should they wait for the gift to come to them? Because I know religious people talk about the calling and all along those lines. Or is there things that they can do to develop their skills? Because I've always heard people say that we all have gifts that we don't necessarily know how to access, whether it's ESP or a number of the other psychic gifts and everything. But sometimes maybe we don't need to access those gifts, because as I know, there's always those stories of the people that can lift more than their natural weight, but it's after an emergency that they actually able to tap into those powers and everything. But it's something that we maybe don't all want.
Everybody's called to something.
Mm-hmm. You said everybody's called to
the called to something,
right?
And it's just a matter of whether you're going to listen or not and heed the call, right. Because they don't understand. Joseph Campbell, in his very famous book called The Hero with Thousand Faces, which put him on the map and put mythology on the map, and also talk about this thing called the monomyth, this mythology from around the world that they all seem to be saying the same things, but the language is a little different, but they're all saying the same thing. That everybody needs to listen to follow their bliss. But what he failed to mention to the people is that the coercive, terrible disasters that occur when you don't follow your call. You don't go into it, and you compromise your life for money, for prestige. I don't advertise anywhere. I don't even have a website. People find me. And I don't charge fees for my services. I ask people they can make a gift if they want. Because how do you measure spirit? How do I charge for that? Is there is an insurance plan where I can be able to fit that in. No, there is. What I found what works for me is that I say this is what I would like to see, but I'm not held to the outcome because a lot of people they don't have any money.
Right.
And I'll give you an example. It was many years ago. There's a young man that I knew was in terrible straits. He was 16 years old, 6'2", full of spit vinegar, putting his fist through the wall. He needed to be initiated. He needed to get a container for all of that energy so he doesn't destroy himself and everybody else around him. Well, I worked with him for a year for helping him ground himself. 2 years ago, I was invited to his wedding in Hawaii. He's 42 now. And I didn't know anybody there, but everybody knew me. Because what had happened to him in those years that he worked with me, that I helped him get that container to hold that fire and have it become a hearth for him to forge his dreams in. And that's really what shamans do, is they become this hearth that you step into their container, and they help forge the tools and knowledge that's held within you to come out and bring your gift out. That's why mentors are so important.
Right.
Having a mentor is just like mentors, like a shaman. That man or woman who steps into that role at that crucial time and gives a soft landing for an individual who's flailing all over the place. What would have happened if Helen Keller didn't get that teacher to sign water in her hand? What if she was not able to ever do that? She would have lived in that darkness and that silence. But because she had that mentor, she was able to forge out the sign of water in her hand and gave her language where she could express herself. And as the results have shown, she was a brilliant woman, filled with curiosity and knowledge that to this day people emulate. So that the shaman, the mentor, that individual is crucial. And that's what we've lost right now. We've lost that so much in our world. We've lost that. And the schools are not doing that at all. And we get everybody wandering around in a fog, bumping into each other and feeling totally lost. I have huge compassion for all people at this time, especially our youth that are being challenged in ways that they can't figure it out. They need a mentor there to help them.
And ironically, since you bring that up, because I guess this past week on Tuesday, I would have been with somebody that technically could be considered a shaman in their own way, but if you're using mentor is a parallel kind of conversation, because there was the young lady that brought her kids by, because she has a summer camp and everything, a day camp for lack of a better term, and she brought them to learn history and all in that space. So in that way, they were being kind of having that shaman mystique in what they were doing, because they were learning about history when they came to the cultural center that I work at and getting this history talk. And even my younger brother works with a term that I hate, which is at-risk youth. And it seems like he would be a shaman in some ways too, because he's trying to help these young people and all along those lines. So it sounds like that is something that is very much there. I see Jeanette's back, and hopefully she can join us and everything. But one of the things I was curious about, because you kind of alluded to it in that conversation, but there's always been this mythology around shamanism and around even Wiccans and everything, because I know sometimes they are persecuted and they are seen as being less than positive, but I've always thought of a shaman and even some of the Wiccans as being more of a positive thing and everything, and not necessarily the negative stereotype that is thrown out there. But I was just wondering how you deal with that, because there is this notion of it being a negative force versus the positive force that I believe you are, as well as other people that work the good magic, for lack of a better term.
I think that what you said here has a lot of validity to it. What determines what it's going to be light or dark, to whether or not you are seeking to empower someone or get power from someone.
Mhm.
The ones that are working within the light empower. They don't
Yes.
take anything from, and they have done enough work where they have created a relationship with the consciousness of their being,
Mhm.
with my being. I you and I can see your being, and it's benevolent. I can see the beauty in it. I can see the Christ in it. And the last thing I do to hurt you, because it hurts my being, because you are a reflection of me.
Yep.
Then thus I wish to empower you. I wish to empower the things that are within you to help that you become the person that you have always dreamed to be and what has you've been called to be. But to get to a place of a process, because you have to go through all these different thresholds to be able to hear and see that clearly.
Right.
That takes a little time, and that takes a mentor to help you go through the layers, if you will. If I am a person of being and I see you and you're a child, I can see your being and I can see your being in my child within me. And the last thing I want to do is to hurt you as a child because I
Yes.
see your being. And I'm not going to put you in a position that's going to cause that being to be destroyed in any way. So I empower you to reach down into your being and pull up. And so I help you forge that. And when you forge that, it gives you a sense of self esteem, a sense of purpose, courage. You're motivated through inspiration, not by me holding a carrot over your head or threatening you with a stick if you don't comply.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm gonna turn it back over to Jeanette. But as I turn it over, I guess one of the things that I always bring up with her and others as well, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about it, is how important is it to have that connection to the ancestors? Because I know that I have lost many friends, including some that have gone into the ancestral grounds, but I still feel a connection to them, whether they were in the creative world or whether they were in the library world or a number of other worlds that are part of my kind of existence and everything. But how important do you feel it is, Nino, to have that connection to those ancestors?
Absolutely, because you really can't. It's pretty hard to create the relationship at that deep level without the container. The container is built through your relationship with all beings, all our ancestors, everything that's come before us and that is now. That's why then every culture has a calling in prayer, a four directional song where they call in the spiritual energies. Every single culture has that. There's no one that's mutually exclusive. And but by doing that, you create the container where your forge is being built, and where you then forge your dreams and desires into their physical reality.
That's awesome. And that leads right into my next question. So, you do this amazing physical experience, but I wanted you to talk about your coaching process as well, because that's a key part of doing the journey to spirit. And it really is so enlightening. You do a different kind of coaching than I've seen other places. And I'd like you to talk about that for a few minutes.
Sure, it's a program that was created called MAP training, MAP, and it stands for Immobilizing Archetypal Powers. There's these energies in the world that have a unique adjective attached to it. And so when we can be able to explain what it is, it has an energy about it, and we know how it's going to work. So what it does, it gives us insights on how things are going to show up, how things are going to end up. And by having this language, which is a language derived from mythology and story, and when we're able to interpret these metaphors of the story through these archetypal energies, we can now predict behavior and predict results.
Mm.
So it puts us in a driver's seat of very powerful empowerment. We are empowering ourselves. And by doing that, we empower the world around us. And as a little comment that I've always made, when you learn these things, when you step into a room and you turn and leave, flowers grow under your heels as you leave. You leave the place a little bit better than it was beforehand. And it's wonderful being able to create that type of environment where, by just you being there and you leaving, you made it a little bit better. You're
So
not,
beautiful.
you're not taking anything, but you're giving something, because here's what I always tell everybody. When you learn the skills that we teach you here, you get it all. When I mean you get it all, you get it all. That means you're connected into abundance, which is connected to the universe, which is limited, and created a bridge. And I got a gold mine. Jeanette say, "Hey, come with me. Bring your wheelbarrow, your pitchfork, your shovel. I want to show you the gold mine, and you can take as much as you want and go back as many times as you want, with one requirement: you got to tell other people about that gold mine too. You can't hoard the gold.
Right.
You got to give it away."
Let's do you have your book handy? Can you talk a little bit about your book and how people can learn a little bit about what you believe in and what you teach?
Sure. Let me grab it. It's right over here.
Okay.
I wrote a simple book a few years ago. It's called The 7 Secrets of Turning Your Dreams into Desires. It's a fun little book, and it has these 7 steps that we go through, the 7 secrets of making those dreams become a reality for you and turning them into all the things you'd like to have happen. I wrote down 68 goals when I graduated from UCSB in 1977. I've accomplished every single one of them except for one. One is right around the corner, I believe. It's on its way to be achieved. I will not reveal the goal, what it is, until it's done, because we're going to have a big party. Jeanette, you will receive an envelope, very ornate, and then it'll have one of those those wax stamps.
Yes.
And you'll know when you get that the goal has been achieved, and you're invited to
Awesome.
celebrate accomplishment of that goal.
And so it is.
But the thing is, I'm not striving to go out and achieve the goal. That's not how I do it. It's not how you do it. What you do is you get into the process and you become the goal, where it's already achieved within your being, done. And all you're doing now is just the exercises to, get it into the mundane world, if you will. And I never tell people what I'm going to do, but I always find out what I've done.
Yeah.
I'd rather do it that way. And when through the 7 secrets, we talk about that in here, and why we keep missing our star. There's a wonderful poem by this poet laureate, William Stafford. And in this one poem, he talks about, let me grab it just right here.
It's okay. Not a problem. And while you're getting that, let me ask you a question. And I didn't ask you this beforehand, so I know there may be some prep involved, but you have a magic trick that talks about this whole premise. Are you able to do that for us?
Well, I have a number of magic tricks that we could do. There's a real big one, but I'd have to prepare for that one. But there's a smaller one I can do right now.
Okay. Well, let's do your poem first, and then we'll do the magic trick.
Okay.
And let's talk about how we can work with you. We'll do the magic trick, and then we can talk about how we can work with you.
This is a very classic poem by the late William Stafford, poet laureate of the United States. And it's a poem, it says it's called A Ritual to Read to Each Other. I'm not going to read the whole poem, but I'm going to read the first stanza of the poem, and it sets the presence for the whole thing. So it's called A Ritual to Read to Each Other by William Stafford. You can look it up. It's on the internet. I've seen it. If you don't know the kind of person I am, and I don't know the kind of person you are, a pattern that others made may prevail in the world. Only on God home, we may miss our star. I remember reading that. That had such a huge, profound impact on me, because when you don't know who you are, you don't know where you're going, you're not listening to who you are, you're being, then you will listen to other vehicles and other ideas, and you'll follow something that's not where you're supposed to be going. And that is so important. Now, I've gone down lots of different roads, and I realized when I got down to the road, and even when I've accomplished great success with it, I realized that was not the road I needed to be going down. But I did get these experiences from it. Let me get this thing.
I worked with Nino for a good year. I did his program. I did the Journey to Spirit, and it truly was life-changing for me. I got to see myself in a whole new light. He saw struggles that some I didn't see, some I didn't want to admit I saw. And he brought them all into light, and it was just absolutely amazing. And it's not, he's very gentle. As you know, I mean, sometimes he'll tell you the truth, he doesn't mince words, but it's an evolution over, he plants a lot of seeds. If you're going in the wrong direction, he'll say, hey, wait, let's pull the reins back, let's go this way. But
you get a gentle nudge, but you're
very gentle.
You'll never get a shove.
No.
Well,
no.
This is an interesting magic trick here.
Okay.
See, there's 3 different size ropes. There's a little rope, there's a medium size rope, and there's this big long rope. And this is going to be a exercise in manifesting your desires. Okay, so I want you to work with me, and everybody who's watching this at this time, play with us. Do exactly what I'm going to tell Jeanette. And we'll see what I'm going to agree that these do not stretch. I'm going to pull them a little. They stretch at all, Jeanette?
Nope.
Can you see that? No, they can't.
Yep.
None of them stretch.
It's not.
They're all finite in length, okay? And there's 3 of them here, okay? So I want you to think about something that you desire to have in your life that would totally rock your world. Think of something and think big. And when you think of it, I want you to reach out physically like that, take it and grab it in your hand.
Okay.
Okay, reach out and grab it.
Yes.
Now bring it down and put it right on your chest like this. Open your palm up and push it into your heart.
Yes.
You have now what's called a desire. You've planted your desire in your heart. What the word desire means is what the stars will bring you and what your heart calls for. Your heart calls for it. The world, the universe brings it to you. But you're halfway. Okay? You following me?
I do.
Now, the word want means what you lack. So you say, I want $1 million, is really saying you're going to lack $1 million. You're not going to get it. But the word desire is, I desire $1 million. If you now just shake in the universe and loose change falls out.
Nice.
So these 3 ropes is the first the big long rope here is the rope of imagination. So I want you to imagine that desire that you have in your physical life right now, that big long rope here, okay? Can you imagine it? So close your eyes for just a moment and visualize that. Now that little tiny rope, that's right here. This little tiny rope, you see the little tiny rope. You can open your eyes now. Okay. See the little tiny rope? The little tiny rope that I have here is a rope of patience, because you got to be patient while things are changing. And this is the rope of work. This is the exercises that you're going to do every single day to manifest getting your um, your dreams in order. Okay. So the exercise you do is this: you're going to say in the morning when you get up and before you go to bed at night, I have in my possession that desire, whatever it is. Okay. So if you have a desire of like $1 million, okay, you have to be able to you say, I have in my possession $1 million. In return for that money, I'm going to recite this out loud, looking at mantra when I get up and before I go to bed at night. So you do it when you get up, so your subconscious is now playing with this. And when you go to bed at night, your subconscious is playing with this idea. So while you're sleeping, this energy is going out in the universe, and you are now have put together these 3 ropes. Okay. There's your long rope of imagination. There's your medium-sized rope of work, and there's your little tiny rope, the rope of patience. Now, this is what you do every single day. You take your imagination of imagining your thoughts of that desire in its physical reality. You do the exercise that I just said to you, reciting it out loud, and you be patient while things are changing. You have to understand that things go in 64-day cycles and they compound on each other. If you maintain this exercise for 1 year, you've done 5.5 64-day cycles that grow compoundingly on them. I am what I would call a master. I'm a master of being able to envision and produce things because I apply these principles. See the little tiny rope? Doesn't stretch, does it? There's the medium-sized rope and the long rope. Now watch. Every day, I blow my desire into the ropes, into my being. You see the ropes, they're all different sizes, right? But slowly, as the 64 days goes, things change, and pretty soon, every 3 ropes are the same size.
That's awesome.
So let's recap what you've learned. You take your desire into patience. You put the patience with your imagination. You put the patience and imagination together with your practice. And you put all 3 of them together by blowing into your desire. That's the catalyst that makes it all change and grow. It makes the impossible possible. You can see the ropes are very close and being exactly the same size. But what happens if you don't pay attention to what I just said? And you go back to doing things the way they were before. Then all the definition of insanity is doing the same thing again and again, expecting different results.
The ropes go back. Oh no.
Or you can do what I just shared with you, and you can move your dreams and desire into their physical reality. It takes a little practice, but it's a good idea to always have a mentor to help you stay on track so that you are not be fooling yourself. Mentors are very important for that. Sometimes a mentor can become a tormentor, but that's another story. Okay.
So let's talk a little bit about how to work with you, and I mean, you do the magic, you also do some singing, but let's talk about the coaching and how to reach you and what you offer.
Well, I do a magic show once a month. As a matter of fact, you'll be helping with me on the next one coming up on the 27th.
Yes.
I do it on Zoom. They're free this month, and September is free. October, we're going to have a very special Halloween magic show, and there'll be a fee for that. Very special one. It's going to be really cool. I will be announcing more about that. So, one way people can get connected with me is come and watch the magic show. Get us your information. Let us send you the Zoom link. It's a lot of fun. And we have there'll be a lot of things that are happening. It's called Captain S Rock and the Adventures of Captain S Rock Magic Show. And that's my alter ego, is this crazy pirate. Captain S Rock. Another way, if you'd like to learn about what I'm doing, is maybe set up a 30-minute consultation with me, and I can give you some ideas. And then if you wanted to work with me as have me mentor you, we can talk about those possibilities and see how that would fit into your realm of things. Most important is that we want to help everybody be able to achieve the things that they are looking for in this lifetime. And we live in a world that is so complex. I mean, who do we vote for? All these different things that are going on. And I say it's irrelevant who's there. It's to know who's there, but you need to know how to navigate through this.
There's a lot of distractions.
Yes. And so,
a lot of distractions.
Like that very famous line in Star Wars where Obi-Wan Kenobi is sitting on he's in that little jet car, and he's got the two droids with him, and they're talking to the stormtrooper, and the stormtrooper, we're looking for a couple of droids. And Obi-Wan goes like this: "These are not the droids you're looking for." And then the guy says, "These are not the droids we're looking for." And then he goes, "We may pass." And then they go, "You may pass." Well, those are the things that are going to be occurring in our life all the time. How do we get through these things? How do we navigate through such situations like that? That's what map training teaches everybody how to do, is how to navigate successfully through the quagmire of this world and turn our disasters into great successes and our desires moving into reality. So I can be contacted by through my phone number. I can give you that out. Want me to give that out? Or okay, it's at 805-284-1040. You can also reach me at my email at Nino, Nino, J Maiani, MAIANI @gmail.com. And you can send me an email, and we can have a conversation.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for being on today. I really appreciated it. And we had some technical difficulties, which you bounded through just very easily. So I appreciate that. And so once you've got your spirit and your soul getting nutrition, it's time to get some physical nutrition for your body with Can-Do Spice.
You know how people love to enjoy food and don't understand how to flavor their food or how to replicate a meal? They're interested in supplements but don't know where to begin? Well, what I do is I take the guesswork out of enjoying flavor and wellness with my flavorful spice blends so that they can create delicious meals with healing benefits. Can-Do Spice was created to help cooks at any level enjoy healing through food. Every spice blend was designed to give added health benefits of natural herbs. Every blend is complete. There's no need to add any additional spice for a delicious meal. Saving you time and money while adding supplements to your meals can be both tasty and fun. My earliest memories in the kitchen began with my father, Kenny Can-Do Bond, so it was fitting that I would name this line after him. I have always looked to natural remedies to supplement the body, and I found myself hiding herbs and minerals in foods for my family. That's when it hit me. Everyone needs Can-Do Spice. Everyone should be having this. It's an exclusive brand for cooks at any level who want to create flavorful dishes with healing benefits that can satisfy the body and soul. Add a little spice to your life. Give Can-Do Spice a try.